switch it on.
Yep, that's right.
Got to do something to play rocks, haven't we? No, the other way around. It's got to be. Otherwise you'll get my quote.
It's Christmas jump done. Okay, good afternoon. We'll have 3 sections today to incorporate the Sundays as well. And we'll start with Sky Sports News.
Afternoon, Frank.
Hi.
Could you give us an update on any injuries? It seems like Loftus-Cheek is making some good progress.
He's making good progress, which is really positive, but nowhere near contention for match play yet. So, but we're happy with that. Other than that, we're all pretty good. We've got a fit squad. So my selection problems, I suppose.
Barkley, okay.
Ross is fine. Yeah, Ross is fine. Tomori's fine. Yeah, for selection. Giroud is fine. They're all fine, I think.
Have you noticed a mental change in your players in training or anything like that since you've been going through this quite tough run of inconsistent results?
No, in a good way. We've got a good spirit, a good group. Questions obviously start to be asked of yourselves in-house when you get some difficult results, and it's important to be very upfront and honest and with each other, and obviously from my point of view. And I see a positive group in training. I see a team training hard. I see a group that are together. So that's all I can ask for now. Of course, we need the results to turn back a little bit because the last few we're not happy with.
Has this been your toughest spell personally as a manager, or have you had to deal with something as tough as this before?
I had it last year. And I think every manager has it to a degree. Maybe not Jurgen Klopp for a long time, but pretty much everybody else, because it's the nature of the Premier League, the nature of what we're in. So there's been some real positives, and I think it's very important not to get caught up in the negatives of a few difficult results, because we've qualified for the next stage of the Champions League. We're in full position, which I don't think many people would have given us that in coming towards Christmas. So, of course, at the moment, we know we can do better in recent games, but I think the big picture is we need to be confident and positive and keep moving forward.
You've already said that you want to strengthen the team in January, particularly in the creative role left by Eden Hazard. Is there any other areas that you think you might focus on in January?
Only areas that are in my head and discussions we have in-house. So until January starts, we won't get too far with that. But things that I see, I'm not going to divulge in public now. What's the most important thing is Tottenham and the games in the interim.
Yeah, and speaking of Tottenham, when Spurs play Chelsea, it's always a massive match, always a fiery match. But does it have an extra special touch for you being against your old boss?
Yeah, I suppose so. I'm happy to go up against Jose, because I think for me to play under him as a player, and it was a big influence on my career. To go up against him last year for Derby against Manchester United was a big deal for me, and that remains. I'll always have respect for him for that side of it. The bigger thing is Chelsea-Tottenham and what that rivalry means, what it should mean to our players and us, because that's the beauty of football. It's rivalries, is what you feel about your club, and what our fans will demand on Sunday is that we show on the pitch what they feel watching the game, which is absolute passion to win the game.
And just a word on Arteta. It looks like he's obviously off to Arsenal, and Carlo Ancelotti to Everton. Anything surprise you about those 2 appointments, particularly Arteta, being that he's going to be managing for the first time at such a big club?
Nothing surprises me, and those 2 possible appointments do not, because on both sides I know the credentials of Carlo Ancelotti, don't we all? So had an incredible career, is a fantastic man, so it doesn't surprise me. And Arteta is obviously different ends of his managerial career, but I think from looking from the outside, not knowing that well, see how he carries himself, I think he'll be a really positive appointment if they make that, because he's obviously a very intelligent football man, diligent, and it will be a big opportunity for him if that's the case.
Good luck.
Thank you.
John. Hi Frank. After Saturday, have you sat down with the players, had a meeting and a chat with them, or is it just work on the training ground? How do you approach that?
We've worked on the training ground more than speak too much. It's been a busy week for the longer week that it is. Pre-Christmas, there are responsibilities for the players and for myself, commitments through the week. But we have focused completely on training, and of course we'll have meetings in the build-up to the game.
On Jose, and obviously you spent a long time with him, is the one thing that you would take from learning from him, is there one specific thing that you would say, yeah, that's what he was really good at, that you take with you into your career?
Not one thing, no. Not one thing. He was a good manager, loads of good attributes, but I wouldn't try to be a clone of anything. No, I wouldn't.
And how different proposition of Tottenham now, do you think, now Jose's there?
Well, always difficult. When you see a team that made it to the Champions League final last year, it's been a regular top 4 team for the last few years. They've got incredible talent in their team, world-class talent and threats. Then they're always difficult. And Jose is a top manager, so it stays a very difficult match.
You've had some good performances away from home. The away record is slightly better than the home one this season. In a way, you're a bit more comfortable at the moment playing away?
Possibly, and that's something we need to address. And we can talk about that maybe pre-Southampton, but yeah, away from home we've got good results. But I don't think it's always home or away the issue. It's more maybe type of game as well, because we've played a lot of games recently. Teams are defending against us. We haven't been able to break them down or take our chances. And then we've conceded the occasional goal, which has turned the game against us. So you would expect Tottenham will be a different animal. You have to take each game as it is, at face value, with the players they have and the threats they have and their home crowd behind them. We might see a slightly different match.
Yeah, and as we approach Christmas, from what you were just saying there, you actually think maybe you're slightly ahead of where you thought you might be?
I didn't make expectations on positions. I was talking more really about what I felt and what I heard from the outside about what people expected of us because of the ban and because of the players we lost. So my expectations are always pretty much week to week. Can we win the next game?
And just finally, any memorable moments for you from Chelsea-Tottenham games?
Yeah. Listen, we had a lot of good moments and also a couple of bad ones, and they always stick in your mind sometimes as much. But they are not important on Sunday. My moments or memories from yesteryear. What's important is what we do on the pitch.
Brilliant. Frank, I hear a lot of coaches talk about lack of training time at this time of year, playing virtually every 3 days. How valuable has this week been to maybe have a little bit more time to focus on certain things tactically?
Yeah, well, it feels valuable for that. And at the beginning of the week, it was some much needed rest, because I don't like to call upon tiredness as an excuse, but I think the last performance at home, where we didn't show the edge that we normally have been shown in terms of chance creation, we could maybe look at a bit of tiredness. So that was important. And then the chance to work has been important. Yeah, it's been a long time since we've had a week to work out here, which means you can do things more physical, more active. So it feels valuable at the moment, and we'll see.
And also, since your time as a player, the Chelsea-Spurs rivalry has sort of shifted in terms of results a little bit. Away games used to be a lot better for Chelsea than maybe they are. It's a bit more even. How do you feel that the rivalry sits now, and do you feel maybe Chelsea have responsibility to try and reassert themselves against Tottenham?
No, I think it should be relatively even. When you look at the clubs, and when you look at I mentioned the last 4 years, it's where, for the last 2 or 3, where Chelsea and Tottenham have both been fighting out to try and get into the top 4, and because they had a fantastic manager in Pochettino, who built an incredible team with some young talent and players brought in and an idea, and that made them a big challenge, not just for Chelsea but for every team in the Premier League. We've seen that. So I don't think it's about who gets the heads up on each other. It's going to always be a competitive fixture.
Okay, I'll finish the podcast with Martin.
That was half my question really, but just to ask you about the team selection, on the back of perhaps the most disappointing result you've had this season, Frank, and having everybody available, is this going to be one of the hardest team selections for you since you've come to the club?
They are all hard because of the squad, the nature of a Premier League squad, and everybody wants to play. But I know what you mean, and a lot of people are fit now. We have decent numbers and a competitive squad. They're all showing that in training, and I have to choose what I feel is right. And yeah, off the back of a result, I think that the edginess that brings, not having a positive result last week through training, has been good. So players are trying to push to show they want to be in this big game. So it makes it quite difficult, yeah.
If you're out of the team and they lose to Bournemouth, you want to be in the team the next week. Basically, that's what you're having to deal with, I guess.
Yeah, and the rules are always the same. It's what you do day in, day out that gets you back in that team, and not just every Saturday or every match day. It's every training session and how you are around the group and all those things. So I'll take all of those into account.
Okay, cameras off, please.